Producers who work hard to bring you this wacky, wonderful world known as the WWF. Longevity is as the times have changed, so have we.
Within the last few years, the WWE has been slowly building up and we are finally seeing the full peak and full growth of the product. People talk about storytelling, but there's no bigger story than this. For many years, fans have been fantasizing about Triple H finally taking over WWE, especially within the rise of NXT and Vince getting old. And in 2022, it finally happened and fans are coming back in waves. But how did we get here? Birds of Production are going to take you back. Let's get it. In the 90s and 2000s, the WWE was mainstream and as popular as it ever was, and for many years, it was the benchmark for everything, and fans would never let any other era shine. And after the PG era, it got even worse. The PG era would start in 2008, basically after the Benoit stuff, to go to a more family-friendly product. And say what you want about that move, but it was the right move. Their reputation was taking a huge hit and they needed to change to stay with the times. So from 2008 to 2022, the fans just wanted more, but it just never felt like it was going to get better. Let's start with the first WrestleMania sales. The first WrestleMania took place on March 31st, 1985 in MSG. The attendance at the event was 19,121 people strong and was seen by over 1 million viewers through closed circuit television. So Vince basically birthed this worldwide phenomenon and changed wrestling forever. But let's skip a bit low. Let's skip to like 1995. 10 years later, it would be main evented by an NFL player, Lawrence Taylor, my boy LT, and Bam Bam Bigelow. Yes, I'm not trolling. This was the main event. 16,305 crackheads would pack this joint, and it would have 340,000 buys, which wasn't that good, but WWE's on a slump and times were changing, so it makes sense. Let's fast forward to March 18th, 1999, WrestleMania 15, main event by The Rock vs. Stone Cold during peak Attitude Era, and 20,276 hillbillies packed the first Union Center. Oh, never mind, this was in Philly, it was full of thugs. Now I'm playing, but this Mania had a buy rate of 800,000 buys. But let's switch to TV ratings for a second. So the TV average episode would get like 5 to 6 million per episode, and the highest episode of Raw ever was on May 10th, 1999, and it had the craziest and wackiest main event you'll probably ever see, with Stone Cold, Vince McMahon and The Rock versus Shane McMahon, Triple H, and The Undertaker. And Shawn Michaels was also the special guest ref, looking like he grinds poles in his spare time, but nonetheless, Stone Cold would get the win for his team, but the episode got an insane rating of 8.1 million viewers. The WWE made about $84 million in 1999. SmackDown would make its debut this year, and it would average around 4 million viewers year-round. But this is just stats though. A lot of people don't care about the stats. How was the actual show? Well, the roster and main event talent was out of this world. The actual wrestling on the shows back then were horrible, but like I say, it sounds weird, but wrestling is like the least important part of wrestling. Promos and storyline segments and characters, in my opinion, have more purpose and meaning than the actual matches. You throw two guys in a ring, sure, okay, it's cool, but you put a story in it and now you have something to bite into. But the stories at this point were at an all-time high. Stone Cold vs. The Rock, Vince vs. Stone Cold, DX on the rise going crazy, Taker vs. Kane, etc. This was prime WWE/WWF for a lot of people, and it was just going crazy. But let's go to 2001. 2001 was the last year of the Attitude Era, and the WrestleMania that year is regarded as one of the most complete WrestleManias of all time. WrestleMania 17, or X7 for the diehards. 67,925 fans in Houston, Texas will pack the Reliant Astrodome. This show would take place April 1st, 2001, but it was not a joke. This show had a buy rate of 1.04 million, and in the main event, Stone Cold would line with his biggest enemy, Vince McMahon, and turn heel. This show also had that TLC match with the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. Shane vs. Vince was also on the show, and Triple H vs. Undertaker. So a super successful show, but let's look at the Raw ratings. WCW would just go down and the Raw would be averaging about 4 to 5 million per week. But now I think they made about $131 million this year, and I've seen a lot of answers about it, but millions is millions, baby.
5 million.
Same thing. Well, millions is millions, my baby.
No, soldier.
Drag.
So we're getting further and further away from the start of WrestleMania, and different names are coming and going, but the company would completely change, and in 2002, there would be a complete company makeover with the Ruthless Aggression Era. 4 people would walk in and change the company forever. The legendary OVW class in 2002 changed the game. Equivalent to the 2003 NBA draft, in walks Randy Orton, Batista, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena. Looking at them here, you probably just think they're mid-carders, but these guys all had legendary careers. But there always gotta be sacrifices, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything you ever learned from me, it's that life is a sacrifice. When you get older, you'll realize this. But 2 of the biggest stars in WWE would head out the door in Stone Cold and The Rock. Now I'm gonna give them some time to build up, people. Let's skip to 2003. WrestleMania 19, March 30th, 2003, Seattle, Washington, Safeco Field with 54,097 people in attendance. And I'm glad they got this because the Seahawks are embarrassing, not gonna lie. But I'm a Browns fan, why am I talking? Alright, anyways, this had a buy rate of 560,000 buys. This also resulted in a tickets earning of $2.76 million. But the two main events were a rematch between The Rock and Stone Cold, with The Rock taking the win in Stone Cold's last ever match, kind of. But then the real main event would be Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. 1 year after he debuted, he's already in the main event of WrestleMania. That's just insane. But the most memorable part of the match was when Brock Lesnar went for a shooting star press and landed on his neck. Brock would somehow finish the match and then he would go on to win the match. The Raw ratings in 2003 would be pretty consistent. This was like Evolution era and Kane was going crazy. In 2003, WWE reportedly made $295.4 million. So in 2004, it was a horrible year as The Rock, Stone Cold, and Brock Lesnar would all leave, but I'd be devastated. Let's go to 2005, let them build up some stars like Batista, Cena, Randy, Edge, etc. But fast forward to 2005, April 3rd, 2005 to be exact, WrestleMania 21 goes Hollywood. The cover and the aesthetic for this mania was beautiful. The event would take place in Cali, with a buy rate of 1.09 million buys and attendance of 20,193 sackwackers. But this show had 3 main matches with Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels and a great match with Kurt taking the win. And the next 2 matches would be the crowning of the 2 next big superstars and top guys of the company. John Cena and JBL would be next, and Cena would get the win and get the WWE Championship. The main event of WrestleMania 21 was Triple H and Batista, and the beautiful story of Batista overcoming Triple H's dictatorship and finally becoming the world champion. But great WrestleMania. So far, Raw around this time was like Edge, Lita, Matt feud. And by the way, if I was Matt, I would be crashing out on everybody. I don't care. I'm still on the side to this day because he lost his dream girl, his dream job, and his best friend. That's bloody. But anyway, Cena would get drafted to Raw during this time as well, and he was on his way to becoming the guy. The ratings would be going down a little bit, but nothing crazy, just about 3.5 to 4 million viewers. In 2005, the WWE would make about $247.7 million. Look, I don't know how reliable these sources are, but I can't really talk to Vince himself, but even if I could, he'd probably just say random mumbo jumbo with his raspy ass voice. But anyways, let's move forward a little bit to 2007 and 2008. These years are very important for the WWE and will change wrestling forever. But let's go to 2007 and see what's up with it. Let's start with SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, man. What a game. Nah, for real. Let's see what was happening at WrestleMania 23. April 1st, 2007, 74,287 Prodies in attendance with a buy rate of 1.25 million. Golly, man. But Detroit? What? I think this and Eminem are the only good things that ever happened in Detroit. But this mania is actually very interesting to look back on because the co-main events will be reversed 3 years later, and Vince would also have a match 3 years later as well. So I guess this show built Mania 26. But anyways, this mania had 3 big matches. The first would be Taker vs. Batista, and this would be the start of a legendary Taker streak and really put on in full motion. This match would be amazing, and yes, Taker would get the win. The next would be the Battle of the Billionaires. I'm not lying, I swear this happened. I'm not capping. Don't throw me in the mental asylum about it. But yeah, it was a good hair versus hair match with Bobby and Umaga and Bobby would win. So yeah, Vince would get shaved and then would rock a do-rag. But yeah, Vince was in the black era because the same year, Vince would have Jagged Edge do a live concert this year for Teddy Long's wedding. And yes, Vince was hip. Yeah, this would be the last year they could go wild before the PG era, so they went out with a bang. But let's take a look at Raw in 2007 though. So around this time, in Raw, this was about Rated RKO era, Chris Jericho returned, Evolution had a mini reunion, DX was going strong too, and Mr. Kennedy was getting that 3-week Cesaro push. So the ratings around this time were about 3.5 million average. So obviously the reason I picked this year is because the year changed wrestling forever, with the biggest tragedy in wrestling history happen, and man, wrestling took a huge hit with this, the Benoit tragedy. This was without a doubt the worst thing that happened to wrestling. It had this like dark spell into wrestling, and they needed to change. And they were all in the news and probably lost so many sponsorships and money as well. Okay, wait, there's no way. Am I dumb or something? Wait, don't answer that. It says they made an all-time high revenue of $485 million? Yo, did they sacrifice Benoit or something? What the hell is this? But anyways, I don't know, bro. Durag Vince couldn't have been that much of a draw. I don't know. But let's go to 2008. So obviously in 2008, WWE would make the switch to PG to really favor kids like Drake, but they kind of messed that up. I don't know. Maybe I was a weird kid, but I wanted to watch stuff that I was not supposed to be watching, but I get the approach. I just feel like people were more likely to outgrow WWE by the age of like 12. My school and people my age never really talked about WWE, and that was like in 2016. And 2016 was a great year for WWE as well, but if I were to compare, I'd say WWE was probably like way more talked about in schools in the 2000s. But But let's put my fantasy ramblings to the side and get to the stats and stuff. So like what I said before, the WWE went PG and HD, so the quality was so much better. But looking back, there's just something special about the grimy like 2005 feel. Bro, I got a cramp. Oh, bro. I got that face. So yeah, you tune into a Raw in 2008 and probably see John Cena and Randy Orton raw dog in the roster, or probably like John Cena in Crime Time, spray painting JBL's limo, or maybe you see like Elijah Burke or Snitsky. I don't know. You thought shit was all sunshine and rainbows? You tripping. The rating surprisingly stayed consistent and was about 3.5 to 3 million. I have no idea how much money they made, but damn, y'all want me to do everything? Like, y'all gotta help me out, man. Y'all do something, bro. Y'all want me to do all the work. Y'all want me to do everything around here? But let's talk about WrestleMania 24, the last ever Mania before the PG era fully went into effect, and what a way to go out. March 30th, 2008. I don't know why, but a Mania in March just looks weird. But anyways, this Mania had a buy rate of 1.04 million and attendance of 74,635 Hulkamaniacs, and this show had a big 4 of matches. Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels would have a classic, and Rick would lose and be forced to retire. John Cena versus Randy versus Triple H would be a pretty good match, and this is like the only important triple threat match I think of that like I really don't like. I think it's because of John Cena should have won, but Randy would end up winning. Dog, the Big Show versus Floyd Mayweather looks like a clickbait thumbnail a random Indian kid would make. This match was very real though, and it did happen, and Floyd Mayweather would get the win after using the brass knuckles. Main event would actually be Edge versus Undertaker though, which is pretty surprising, but Undertaker would get the win and the World Heavyweight Championship. But let's get to 2011. So Taker was part-time, Triple H was part-time, Shawn was gone, Edge was gone too, and Cena was in the worst phase and Batista was gone. So, you know, we gotta make some moves here. But let's bring in Cien Carter and Lord Tensai. Good one, Greg. But yeah, at least we had CM Punk. CM Punk this year by itself will make him a certified superstar for the rest of his career. So the Raw ratings would be stable around 3 million viewers. And the WWE would also make about $483.9 million. But WrestleMania, man, do I even talk about this? Matter of fact, I have talked to the board of directors and we held a meeting and we have decided to not talk about WrestleMania 27. The board of directors are the voices in my head. But yeah, anyways, I'll replace that with John Cena and The Rock would start their legendary feud this year. Let's skip around. We some time travelers, gang. But we need a name for y'all, man. But anyways, let's go to 2014. A lot of people love the Ruthless Aggression and Attitude Era, but my favorite personal times of watching wrestling were like 2014 and 2016. Probably because like Prime Ruthless Aggression was just a little too early for me, and WWE from like 2008 to 2013 was just horrible. Honestly, with most stuff, it's not about what's actually on screen, it's about the memories you have with it and the fun you make with it. Like at face value, it's probably just decent, but the memories come back, and why am I talking like a therapist? All right, let's go to 2014. So in 2014, the WWE was rapidly changing and the new era was coming through very quickly. NXT was on the rise and old main eventers were falling down the card and some mid-carders were going up. On an episode of Raw in 2014, you probably see Lost Matadors, Damien Mizdow, The Shield breaking up, Randy beefing the Authority, Cena wearing 2 belts on his neck like a G, Batista return, Evolution coming back. And the Raw ratings will be about in the 3 million range. It's not bad. But the WWE in 2014 made about $542.6 million. And this was when the WWE Network was in full effect. And it was like a revolutionary idea. I'm gonna make a full video on the network though because it really changed the game. This year though, in my opinion, was one of the greatest Manias ever. This WrestleMania had a buy rate of 684,000 and there was 60,000 Brothers of Production believers in attendance. This show had 2 matches that really made the show, but one of them was one of the most shocking moments ever, and the other one was one of the most feel-good moments ever. Brock Lesnar would officially be the 1-21-1 to beat The Undertaker at Mania, and to this day, I haven't been the same since. But I still don't know if it's the right decision or not though, but I did cop that Brock defeat the Streak Elite, though that thing was tough. And rest in peace to Toys R Us too. I swear I'm gonna make an in memory of Toys R Us video. I don't care at this point. I gotta talk about it. But anyways, to fill you in a little bit, Daniel Bryan was on the run of a lifetime and he had the whole world chanting yes. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. But let me take you back. Look at this right here. I'm telling you, people did not play about Daniel Bryan. But people think LA Knight is over, but this was a different level, like Hogan in the 80s or something. So Bryan had all the momentum going into Mania. He beat Triple H in the opener to advance to the main event between Randy Orton and Batista, and he made it a triple threat. Daniel Bryan would put all his fans on his back and overcome all the odds, and it became YesOmania. This had to be the greatest title win ever. But what a way to end Mania though, and this was as great as everybody says it was, trust me. But let's go to 2016. 2016 in my opinion was one of the funnest periods of wrestling ever. Everything was just perfect in 2016. But forget Raw though, This was SmackDown's time to shine for real. In this era, you'd probably see Dolph Ziggler pouring his heart out, The Miz making the IC title the best title in the company, John Cena and AJ having one of the best feuds ever, Alexa Bliss becoming all the pervs' favorite blondie, and Dean Ambrose finally becoming a WWE champion. But the ratings this year did not reflect the actual product, I'm telling you. But Raw will be getting like 2.5 million and SmackDown will be getting like 2 million. But it's the Roman Reigns effect, it's gotta be. But the WWE also made about $729.2 million. So it seems like they sacrificed ratings for money. So WrestleMania wasn't even the best pay-per-view this year. Matter of fact, probably one of the worst. So yeah, I don't care. I'm going to talk about Survivor Series. Matter of fact, I'll do both. I got y'all. So pay-per-views were dead, so no more buy rates, guys. So I'll just make up a random number and say 782,000 buy rates. But this show was decent for what it was, but there were just too many injuries to see the full potential of what could have happened. Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha absolutely tore the house down, but it's still crazy to me that we've never gotten a fatal four-way with the 4 horsewomen at Mania, and that's a huge missed opportunity. But I also think Sasha should have won this match as well, but Charlotte would go on to get the win in a great match. But John Cena and The Rock would also come together again and fend off the Wyatts in an awesome moment. Shane and Undertaker would also have a cool match, but Shane is a Looney Tune, bro. Shane was in his 40s when he did this, but he jumped off the top of the Hell in a Cell, and it was legendary. I swear Vince just told him, oh, come on there. Like, he disowned him so many times. But yeah, this Mania could have been a lot better. But forget Survivor Series. We're just going to get to the main topic before everybody falls asleep. But my bad. But 2017 was garbage. And 2018, I left. So 2019 was picking up a little bit. But let's go to 2020 and 2021, the last 2 years of the Vince era. So 2020 was obviously the Lars Sullivan of years. But for everybody except for gamers, because gaming was actually in its peak. But so for Raw, we had about 2 million average, but later in the year, it would be about 1.8. But AEW was really just starting still, and they were going to war against NXT, and WWE was just horrible. The Fiend was the one dude putting in work, but they buried him. Shout out Edge and Drew as well, and Sasha and Bayley. But there was one man who would really come in and change it all around. Roman Reigns. Let's tone it back a little bit though, Ange. Let's go to WrestleMania 36 with a huge attendance of 0, taking place at the Performance Center. Yeah, this is a funeral mania. This is what my old birthday parties look like, but enough of my pity. I'm really only going to highlight 2 matches though. The Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. The Boneyard match was Taker's last match ever, and what a way to go out. Taker was just putting belt to ass and sun the hell out of AJ. But what a performance by them though, and Taker would beat AJ, but thank you, Taker. Now, we get to the evisceration of John Cena. I was tripping so hard when I saw this, I swear. But Bray basically brought Cena back and showed him basically what would have happened if he failed. And then Bray would then torture him basically and then beat him. Like, he came out with the Thugonomics Cena, the 2002 OG Ruthless Aggression Cena, the NWO Cena. I don't know. I think that was like the heel turn thing, but they did what they could. I can't hate on it. But the WWE would then actually make hella bread this year. And budget cuts hit different. But yeah, Roman Reigns would come back and everything just changed. People will say the WWE was garbage, but they have no clue what they were talking about. SmackDown from late 2020 to 2021 was goated. Raw was horrible, but SmackDown was lit. I think the biggest difference is that Vince's highs were extremely high, but his lows were very low. And Triple H is more complete on the total scale. But during this time, WWE signed a $1 billion deal with NBC for their Peacock deal, and this was huge. They started the network, then sold their library for $1 billion. That's crazy moves. Nick Khan got that Jay-Z hustle. But Nick also said that WWE has nearly doubled its audience since the deal. This deal also lasts until 2026. So yeah, WWE made over $1 billion in 2021. But Raw would also average about 2 million viewers. And let's get to WrestleMania 37. This was the first show with fans back after the pandemic, but I don't know, not much happened at this show. They carried on 2 nights format as well, but Bianca and Sasha tore it up in the main event on night 1 with Bianca winning. Bad Bunny also showed out. Cesaro and Seth put on a banger. And of course, the main event of night 2, Edge, Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns. One of Roman's best matches to date, with him retaining and sending everybody home with a great ending. Now we finally get to 2022, the year Triple H took over. 2022 was such a crazy year for wrestling, man, I swear. But let's actually start with WrestleMania 38, the last Mania Vince will ever be a part of, and it's crazy to think about. WrestleMania 38 had 65,719 people in attendance, and so on night 1, there was 2 major things that happened, and one of them led to most of the momentum of the WWE to fall back into place. So Vince would give Seth a mystery opponent, and he would be revealed at WrestleMania. Seth would be waiting for his opponent, and Cody Rhodes would come out, and man, once he came back, everything just felt complete and everything just felt right. He had all his AEW presentation as well. You know he's important if WWE lets you do that, especially with Vince still there. But Cody would come home and put Seth on a plaque at Mania. To end the show, somebody else would come back. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Remember earlier we talked about Mania 19 being Stone Cold's last match? Yeah, well, Stone Cold came back after 2 decades, and man, he didn't lose any aura. You know how old wrestlers would come back and they'd be like Hacksaw Jim Duggan level? But yeah, this was this was not the case. They did everything right, and he came out at the ATV, and the best part was they did a brawl and not a real match. So Stone Cold would win, and man, what a great way to close the show. The two major matches on night 2 were Roman versus Brock and Theory versus Pat. Theory vs. Pat would be a really good match with Cole's commentary for Pat being so wholesome. But Vince would come out and then somehow it would be Vince versus Pat McAfee. But yeah, this was insane. Vince would beat Pat with a punt, but it still wasn't over. Stone Cold would spin the block one last time on Vince. In a matter of minutes, Stone Cold will go on to raise hell and hit one of the worst stunners of all time and one of the best stunners of all time. This was everything I loved about WWE right here. But the main event was just disappointing. Roman would get injured, so that definitely played a big part of it. And also after this injury, Roman was never really fully, full-time again. So he probably just F this shit for real. But yeah, I think this show depended on the main event. If they had a classic, I think this would be like an all-time Mania. But this felt like the last hurrah. This was Vince's last just go away party. But still though, what a way to go out. But a few months after this, Vince would get life-changing allegations, and something we thought would never see happen actually happened. Vince McMahon, yes, Do-Rag Vince himself, would actually step down from WWE. And ever since NXT popped off, people wanted Triple H at the throne. And it finally happened. But I am not one to put hype ahead of reality, so how has he done? In my opinion, he's done a pretty good job, but there's still a lot of stuff to work on. So, SummerSlam 2022 was his first pay-per-view, and it was actually really good. Damage Control made their debut with Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. They came together as a team, and it was great. Roman Reigns also put on an all-time classic and their best match ever with Brock Lesnar in the Last Man Standing match. So yeah, it was a good show. But I'll also say that in Vince's era, the pay-per-views were still really good, but the weekly shows were just really bad for years. The weekly shows are better now, but I can't say that they are amazing. The storylines make sense, and the wrestling's better, and thank God there's not that many rematches anymore. The Bloodline had another peak with Sami Zayn joining in, and the Judgment Day were taking over and was on for an average about 2 hours a show. But for the past 2 years, he was really just finishing Vince's stories, and he was still playing it safe. I'm still waiting for him to fully ramp it up, and I think we'll see that very soon. But let's talk about theme songs. Man, Def Rebel really have buried wrestlers more than any creative could have. But I still will never hop on any bandwagons, but I've been saying this for years, so I'm valid. But their hit to miss ratio is worse than mine with women. The only hits they really have are Jay, Roman, and Seth. They're all 10s. Yeah, okay, and Jay, I thought it was a diss. Alright, never mind, for though. But they had to make those good. If they didn't give Roman and Seth bangers, then what's the point of this? But they really gotta go, man, or just put me in the studio, I don't know. But let's talk about titles. Triple H brought in a fresh set of titles, and they're really good. The best one, in my opinion, are the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and the one that Roman brought in, whatever it's called nowadays, the Reigning Undisputed, whatever it's called. But now, WrestleMania 39 was Triple H's first Mania, and he did pretty good. The stage was gorgeous, and I have to talk about this. Theory versus John Cena. I know Theory winning was gonna do nothing for him, and I was right. But beating Cena means absolutely nothing nowadays because he always loses. Just look at Solo. But beating someone of his caliber should always mean something. But I don't know. Theory would beat Cena. Logan and Seth would have a good match. It was a weird choice, but it was pretty cool. Ray would face Dominic in a 1v1 at WrestleMania, and I know this was so cool for them. But the entrances, the crowd, the belt, this was amazing. Also, shout out Michael Cole. He has shown how great of a commentator he always could have been. But shout out Dom too. I can't stand him, but he had a complete renaissance. And somehow Shane O'Mac stained his family's name more than Vince could have, and he got disowned by Triple H this time instead of Vince. But Snoop hit a people's elbow, and I don't know what this was, but this was so weird. For the main event, this match was beautiful. Easily my favorite match of this entire Mania. But Lil Uzi would bring out the Usos, and it was so tough. I was losing my mind, the fans were losing their minds, Michael Cole was losing his mind. That's my guy. Nah, but a tag team match with main event at WrestleMania, that's crazy to me. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would beat the Usos to end their 622-day title reign. And was it a sign for what's to come for Roman? We'll see. But all I remember from night 2 was Finn and Edge having a pretty good Hell in a Cell match. Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus tore it down. And then I was depressed after it ended. I get why Cody lost now, but man, it was still horrible. Cody losing sucked the air out of the whole joint. But especially the finish was just bad. But I guess that's how life is. You want to win the big one, you got to fail. If Cody just only won and had a straight clear path to the title, it would have been hella unrealistic and boring. So I get it. But overall, the Mania wasn't that great. I'd probably never go back to it. For his first Mania though, I'll give him credit. But my biggest problem with Triple H's Manias is that there's not enough segments. It's just match after match after match. It's too much. But honestly, this was nothing compared to what was to come. I also want to talk about his signings though. Triple H completely changed the image because if you remember, Triple H made NXT the spot for the real wrestlers, and then AEW came in and took all the thunder and made it the place to be for the wrestlers. So in 2022, Poetic justice, Triple H got his get back and made WWE the spot to be again. Tony thought he beat Triple H in the battle, but Triple H won the war in the end. But chess moves only. Vince did make the smart move for NXT though. AEW was too hot and it was everything NXT was doing just on a larger scale. So why would you keep NXT like that just to lose and be a clear number 2 when you could just build your future and just make everybody take notice in the end? But like I said, the real leaders are the ones that make moves even though people don't agree with them, but you follow through on it because you think they're right. But take the heat in the beginning to laugh at them in the end. Triple H did take the goodwill away from AEW though and brought so many people back. Like he would probably hit people up and they would make a deal on the same day. He even brought Bray and Punk back. But I will say a lot of his signings don't do much. Like Karrion, Loomis, Hit Row, Gargano, Ciampa, AOP, Candice, etc. In 2022, Raw would average about 1.7 million and SmackDown would get like 2 million. So for the first time in like a long time, SmackDown would be getting the higher ratings. But WWE made a crazy $1.3 billion in 2022. The ratings would stay the same in 2023, and same with the revenue. The WWE will really pick up in 2024 though. They brought a lot of people back and they're making it cool again. A lot of people don't even care if it's fake, they just want to be entertained. On the flip side, there's a certain group that will never budge because they don't get it, but a lot of people don't even care because they got a lot of nostalgia tied to it. A turning point in the WWE, in my opinion, will be when they brought The Rock back, and they're also making major plays as they sold the TKO, and they're moving Raw to Netflix. That's going to be a crazy move. I don't know how that's going to work, but the online wrestling streams hit different. But The Rock turns up to WWE and basically made it his. The Rock would come back, cut Cody, and accidentally spark a modern yes movement, turn heel, join the Bloodline, have a concert, main event Mania, and terrorize Mama Rhodes in the process. This whole feud brought the WWE back. The Mania 40 press conference was incredible, and this feud saved Cody's star power in the spot as well, because one thing I thought was last year, I thought Cody couldn't get any bigger, but I was wrong. Cody was as over as ever, and the Cody crybabies were on his side, so it was his chance to get his get back. WrestleMania 40 was incredible. One of the main events got thrown away because of Punk's injury, but you wouldn't even be able to tell. Night 1 started with Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, and Rhea is such a star. Rhea would beat Becky and start the show off with a bang. Yeah. There was a 6-pack tag team ladder match, and boy was this fun. Going into WrestleMania, I was so scared that they weren't going to do like a ladder match. I was hoping and praying because ladder matches at WrestleMania hit different. And this match stood out. Like as a non-wrestling fan, you could just see this and be like, damn, they're going crazy. Like this appeals to every demographic in the game. But Theory and Waller will win the SmackDown tag titles and the Awesome Truth will win the Raw tag team titles. Theory is my boy now. I used to hate him, but he's kind of tough. But Jay vs. Jimmy had a 1v1 and I really wish his match was better. It didn't hit for some reason, but it's okay. But Jade made her Mania debut and she's going to be a megastar. People who watched AEW knew what she was capable of, and hopefully she could get used to the WWE style because it looks like she was built for this shit. But Sammy would then end Gunther's legendary IC title run in a great match. And then the Bloodline would go crazy and the fate of Roman and Cody's match at night 2 would be decided here. They had an hour-long brawl and the Bloodline would beat Seth and Cody. Roman would also spear the Rock, and I think that story isn't finished yet. But Rock versus Roman, the dream match everybody wanted, Mania 41, do it Triple H. But night 2 was way better though. Seth vs. Drew was a banger, and Damian Priest would cash in and soil Drew's big moment. Perfect storytelling. This was a triple storyline entendre. It makes sense for Seth to lose as he was hella hurt. Drew gets his big moment but then loses it and drives him insane, and then it furthers the Punk feud. So this furthered like so much stuff in just one match. But Damian Priest finally unlocked the code to his briefcase and he cashed in. He's probably going to split from Judgment Day, or he's going to be like a crazy leader, or he's going to be a face now or something, I don't know. But Randy RKO'd Speed, and the main event was some of the best wrestling ever. John Cena, The Rock, The Undertaker, The Shield, kind of. And we're all in the WWE in the ring in a matter of minutes, and Cody finally finished his story. Great start, and an even better ending. 10 out of 10 show, and it destroyed last year's. Probably top 5 WrestleMania of all time. Maybe top 10. I don't know. I think it's top 5. I don't know. But yeah, man. There's still some problems in WWE, but I think that most importantly, the goodwill is back. And we're just getting started. But you know who else is getting better? This channel. So subscribe, join the ride, and peace, man. I'm out.
I have creative control of WWE, of entertainment company that there's ever been on the planet. Like,
for the rest of my life, I will be a Paul Levesque guy.